Hello Vault Dwellers, and welcome back to my kitchen. Today I'm going to be doing two recipes instead of one. The first one is going to be the Carol's Mystery Meat Stew, also known as Vault-Tec's Meaty Chili. And I'm also going to be doing a Blue Cornbread Muffin that goes along with this chili. Alright guys, let's go over our big laundry list of ingredients. For the chili, we are going to need 1 whole plablano pepper with the seeds and stem removed, as well as a red and a yellow bell pepper that I've cut in half and removed the seeds and membrane from. And you're going to want 1 medium onion. I felt mine were a little on the small side, so I'm using 1 small yellow onion and 1 small sweet onion that I've gone ahead and quartered. You're also going to need 1 jalapeno, as well as 4 cloves of garlic. And for our spices, we are going to need 2½ tablespoons of cumin, as well as 1 tablespoon of fenugreek. Fenugreek is an Indian spice, I believe, and it's kind of got a smoky, lemony flavor to it. So I think that's going to pair really well with the chili. We're also going to need 2 tablespoons of coffee grounds, and hiding in there I have 1 tablespoon of brown sugar. In this container here I've got 3 bay leaves, which will go in, as well as 2 teaspoons of salt and 1 teaspoon of black pepper, and I've got 3 tablespoons of chili powder. The chili powder I'm going to be using today is a mixture of 1½ tablespoons of ancho chili powder, as well as 1½ tablespoons of chipotle chili powder, just because I like a little bit of heat in my chili. So we can go ahead and move that out of the way. For our meat, we need 1 pound of ground hamburger, as well as 1 pound of ground lamb. We also need 1 can of kidney beans. I'm using the light red ones today. And a 28-ounce can of diced tomatoes, and I'm using the petite diced. We also need 2 teaspoons of Worcestershire sauce, as well as a little bit of olive oil. For our blue cornbread muffins, we are going to need some blue cornmeal, which I have here. I've got 1 1/4 cups of it, as well as 1 cup of all-purpose flour. We also need a 1/2 cup of white sugar. We're going to need 1/4 cup of honey, 1 egg, 1 cup of buttermilk, 1/3 cup of melted butter that I'm allowing to cool down, 1 egg. For our spices for this, we're going to need 2 teaspoons of ground coriander. And in this bowl, I've got 1 tablespoon of baking powder, 1 teaspoon of salt, 1/2 teaspoon of turmeric, and 1 teaspoon of ground cumin. And I think that's it. And we will also need a little bit of additional salt and pepper for dusting on top of our vegetables. So let me get some of this stuff out of our way, and we'll go ahead and start getting our vegetables prepped to go into the oven. Alright guys, I've gone ahead and laid all the vegetables out on a baking sheet, and now all we're going to do is lightly brush them with some olive oil. And these are going to go into a 450-degree oven for about 30 to 40 minutes, or until the skins start to blacken up a little bit. And once they've done that, I will remove them from the oven and wrap them in aluminum foil and let them sit for a good 30 minutes until they start to cool down, and then we're going to peel the skins off of them. So let me get all of these prepped up and ready to go into the oven, and then we can move on to the next step. Alright guys, before I forget, we are supposed to salt and pepper these before they go in the oven. So I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit of kosher salt right over the tops of them and add just a little bit of pepper. That looks pretty good. So now I'm going to transfer them over into the oven for about 30 to 40 minutes. Alright guys, so while our vegetables are in the oven, we're going to go ahead and get our cornbread muffins mixed up. And the first thing we need to do is just add all our spices into our flour. I'm going to give those a stir. Here we go. That looks pretty good. I'm going to move that to the side. And I think my butter has actually cooled down a little bit too much. So I'm going to pop this in the microwave while we get the rest of our ingredients together. So to our bowl of sugar, we're going to go ahead and add in our 1 egg. As well as our buttermilk. And I went ahead and got the butter out of the microwave, so let's go ahead and add that in. As well as our 1/4 cup of honey, which I'm just going to go ahead and pour right into the same container I had my buttermilk in. There we go. And that's going to go straight in as well. Now all we need to do is stir all these together until they are well combined. If you wanted to, you could use a whisk, but I think I'm going to be able to get it just fine with my rubber scraper. That looks pretty good actually. So now all we need to do is combine our wet ingredients in with our dry ingredients. There we go. And you're just going to mix these until they're combined. With cornbread, you don't want to overmix it. So don't be concerned if there's a few little lumps and bumps in there. They're all going to bake out in the end. The biggest concern is not overworking your batter, which will give you a kind of flat, dry muffin. There we go. I think that looks pretty good actually. That came together very quickly. Make sure I got all the dry powder off of the edges, and I do believe I have. I had just a little bit left there in the very bottom. But I think we look pretty good now. Alright guys, so now all we need to do is fill up our muffin tins, and we're only going to fill them about 3/4 of the way up. And this should make about 12 to 14 muffins. If you guys have the muffin tin liners, I would definitely go with that. But I'm unfortunately out of them. So what I've done is I've greased up my muffin tin with shortening and then lightly floured it. And that should allow it to release without any problems. And while I'm filling these up, I would like to remind you of the community-driven playlist that J-Pick Death and I have going on in our channels. If you would like to be a part of it, it's really easy. All you have to do is go out and make a cooking video. And once you've done that, just post it to your channel and then let either J-Pick or I know down in the comment section of our latest cooking videos. Or if you're a part of our Discord servers, you can let us know over there as well. Alright guys, I think that's just going to about do it for the muffins. I did kind of overfill them a little bit, but they should be okay. When our vegetables come out of the oven, I'm going to lower the temperature to 400 degrees and pop these in for 12 to 15 minutes or until they're done. Wow. As you can see, our vegetables are doing very nicely. I just want to turn the plablano over so it can get roasted on both sides. And I'm going to pop this back into the oven and let them finish roasting. Alright guys, our vegetables are out of the oven. And now I'm going to do is transfer them over to this piece of aluminum foil. And I'm going to wrap them up for about 30 minutes, just until the skins start to loosen up. Probably really don't need to put the onions in there, but I'm going to just to help keep them warm. Alright, there we go. Those are all done. Let me go ahead and just wrap this up. And that steam is going to get trapped in there and help soften up that skin. So let's go ahead and get moved over to the stove where we can start cooking the rest of the chili. Alright guys, I've gone ahead and browned that up, and now what we need to do is start adding in our garlic and our jalapeno, which I've gone ahead and minced, and I did remove all the seeds from the jalapeno. So let's get that stirred in and started. I'm also going to add in my salt, pepper, and chili powder. Whoop. As well as our fenugreek and cumin. And last but not least, we're going to add in our brown sugar and our coffee beans. Well, coffee grounds, I'm sorry. They were coffee beans at one time, but not anymore. Alright, and let's see, what else do we need? We need to add in our Worcestershire sauce. That's a hard word to say. And we needed 2 teaspoons of that. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead and add in my tomatoes. As well as my kidney beans that I've gone ahead and drained and rinsed off. And I'm going to add in about a half of a can of water, half of the tomato can of water into this. And that looks pretty good. Now all we need to do is add the rest of our vegetables. So let me get those peeled and we will put them in. Alright guys, I've gone ahead and grabbed our vegetables and they should be about ready to be peeled. And I think what I'm going to do is remove the onions and go ahead and get those chopped up. Ooh, those are still pretty warm. And I'm just going to do a really rough chop on these. So I kind of like big chunks of onion in my chili. And plus these are going to cook down a little bit more in the pot here. So that looks pretty good to me. Maybe a little bit more on that one. Let's get the rest of our onions out of here. Alright, so now all that's left to do is to remove the skins from our peppers. And I like to use a paper towel for this to help grab onto it. It's just all about getting it started. There we go. And what we're looking to do here is to remove the outer layer of skin, the blackened part, and keep all the meaty goodness of the pepper. It helps when you get like a little blistered area. Kind of pulls that off. There we go. That's coming off really well now. Let me go ahead and get our plablano diced up and into the pot with the rest of the ingredients, and then we can move on to our other peppers. Alright guys, this is our last pepper that we need to chop up. I've already gone ahead and gotten all the skin off of it, and I'm just going to go through and chop it up like I have all the others. Add it into our pot, and I think we are pretty good to go. Here we go. I've got everything all stirred in. And now all we're going to do is let this sit covered on about a low heat for around 4 to 6 hours. The longer you let this sit and cook, the better the flavors are going to be. Kind of like how chili is always better the second day after it's been warmed up. All those spices get in there and really flavor everything. But for now, there's not really much more that we can do for it other than to babysit it for a couple hours. So I will see you when it's done cooking. And actually, before I forget, we have our 3 bay leaves that need to be thrown in and stirred. And now that is honestly the last ingredient that is going in here for quite a while. Alright guys, I will see you in about 4 to 6 hours. Alright guys, it's been about 5.5 hours since we started letting our chili simmer, and I feel like it's done. So let's go ahead and get in here and give it a taste, see what we think about it. Now, I am a little bit hesitant with the coffee grounds. I don't drink coffee. I don't find it a flavor that I particularly enjoy. So I'm a little curious to see how it's going to work inside of our chili. And we can also try a little bit of our Blue Cornbread Muffin, see what we think about that. I do like the muffin. It's got a nice subtle sweetness from the honey and the little bit of sugar we added into it. I don't think it needed quite as much cumin as it has in it. So if I make these again, I'll probably put the cumin at 1/2 teaspoon instead of a full teaspoon. And let's try it with our chili here. It does go well with the chili, and it does help tame some of the heat that I have going on in the chili right now. So for the chili, I will say I don't care for it. I am not a fan of coffee. I don't drink it in my everyday life. And I found the coffee grounds to be a little bit too bitter added into this chili recipe. And the cumin is far too much. If I was going to make this again, I would definitely be leaving out the coffee grounds as well as 1.5 tablespoons of the 2.5 tablespoons of cumin that we added. I do like the roasted vegetables in here. I do like the idea of that. And I will be including that in my own personal chili recipe moving on in the future. If you would like to see what I feel is a far better chili recipe, I will leave a link down in the description to a chili that I made about a year ago. Remember to check out the Gamers and Geeks playlist as well as my Fallout Cookbook playlist. I will leave a link down in the description to them. But for now, thank you so very much for joining me today. I've been Vault Girl. I hope you guys have enjoyed, and I hope I see you in the next one.